This is a production of the AJ Podcast Network.
The greatest.
Pushing and pulling, I want you, but you wanna leave. I hate you, I love you, you love me, yeah, you gotta be. If I'm your cage, leave. But if you stay with me, eventually we'll find happy.
Should I go left? Should I?
Welcome, everybody. Here we go again for another episode of the Passage Home Podcast, starring the Dr. Stanley Russian. I'm AJ. I'm filling in for the Baxabillion. We're listening to Cage, written by and performed by the Bax. You can purchase this song from iTunes. Go to our website, linktree.com/Passage Home Podcast. It's one of the top items to take you directly to the iTunes store. Downloaded it. Speaking of our website, linktree.com/Passage Home Podcast. On there, you will see all of our platforms that we are recorded on. All of our episodes will be on YouTube. That link is on there as well. Don't forget to ask Alexa, please play Passage Home Podcast from iHeartRadio. We also have our other podcasts with myself and the Baxabillion and Amory. I can relate to that podcast. Website for that is linktree.com/AJ and Bax. That is spelt out AJ and BAXX. There will take you to all the links to the show. If you need to get a hold of Passage Home Podcast, you can reach them via email. passagehomepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support Dr. Stanley Russian and the Baxabillion, you can reach out to them via email, passagehomepodcast@gmail.com. Without further ado, here is Dr. Stanley Russian. How are you, sir?
Amazing. By the grace of God, everything is amazing. Today, we have Professor Victoria Richards, a professor at Northridge College and here in California. And I've been waiting for this guest for a while because she exemplifies the theme of this whole podcast, being able to not only survive in Africa, but to thrive in Africa. We're going to get into some of those things with her in a minute. I just want to first of all thank her for blessing us with her time to contribute to this podcast. Victoria, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Did you get your gift basket in our virtual green room?
Yes.
What items were in there that you asked for?
A dashiki, a sand painting, mud cloth, and a little taste of Africa.
All right. Okay, so we got that together. I want to say that, can you give us a little bio on yourself?
Oh, see.
A little bio.
Oh, see, I was always prepared for that part, but
okay.
Okay, so me, I'm an academic. I did undergrad African American Studies at Cal State University, Northridge. That's where I teach. I did grad school at Columbia University in the city of New York. Go Lions. And African American Studies. I also have bachelor's in theater, marriage and family counseling, web design certificate, and another master's in teaching of English. And so I know that's why you called me onto the show, because of my African American studies background, and I'm an Africana studies professor. So I did go to Africa to see the plays because I studied it for so long. And when I got there, it was just amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
And that's a brief bio. She goes extensively because she's been there several times. She's lived there, and she's lived against my better suggestion. She moved, not moved, but she lived in northern Nigeria. And not only did she live there for a year teaching,
So that is true. Like, so the first time I went to Africa, I went for Ghana's. This was a while back, though. I went to Ghana's 50th anniversary of their independence, and I was just going there for vacation. I need y'all to hear me on this. I was just going there for vacation, and I was there like maybe 2 days. And they was like, oh, do you know some folks that can teach English? And I'm like, hey, I'm an English teacher. And next thing I know, a whole year had went by, and I was just living a life and enjoying myself. And then it was kind of like my boss at Cal State Northridge was like, we need you to come and teach this class. Can you come back home? And I was like, well, I guess I better see if I still have a job back home. If it had not been for that phone call, I probably might still be there right now, because I was just enjoying myself so much. I did go back to Ghana again for like another half a year, and then I had to come back to work because at that time period, I was teaching at a charter school, an Afrocentric charter school at that, and at the university. And so I had to come back for that. Another time that I went through Teach for Africa, and I had actually signed up to go to East Africa, to Ethiopia, but administrator in Nigeria saw my resume and she stole me. So that's how I ended up in northern Nigeria, the area in which Dan is talking about, where he's like, maybe you shouldn't go there. So northern Nigeria, if you're going to travel to Africa, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that area because it's very unstable. Like, think about when you see those articles where they're talking about going into the schools and they're kidnapping that's that part of Africa. You not necessarily want to go there. But most other areas of Africa, Ghana, Senegal, Togo, Burkina Faso, all those areas, you just go and it's just welcome home and hey, you want to make some money.
Mm-hmm. That's what I want to get across to our average listener. I want to make them more and more comfortable with understanding that you can thrive there in Africa and different countries. And Victoria is blessed in several ways. She actually grew up in South Central California. And, it's an adventure in South Central just to go to the store.
It is. My block is hot right now.
Right. And so being in a country like Africa is an adventure that we've been prepared for.
But it's a good kind of adventure, Stan.
Right. Yes. But like I said, my definition of an adventure is not an adventure unless it has two elements. One is the element of being a thrill. The other one, there has to be a little danger in it. Like, when you going down a roller coaster, that anticipation that's there and what surrounds you, it makes it more of an adventure. Tom Sawyer would not have been an adventure if it was filmed on Lake Michigan, unless he went up into the hood of Chicago. That's what the adventure is. But because he was on the Mississippi, and I fished on the Mississippi, if the Mississippi is a beast, and I couldn't see myself on a homemade raft out there, so that makes it an adventure. The fact that went there and taught in those areas and made friends. And once I was with Victoria at an art festival, there was a Nigerian artist there, and he asked her a question, and I'm gonna let her answer the question. I'm gonna ask her the question again. He asked her, "Did you learn any languages while you were there?" And your answer was what?
I don't remember what my answer was then, but I will say, just being there, you do learn words and languages and all that kind of stuff. However, when you come back home, there's not really anybody to speak it with. And there's like this one Hausa phrase that sticks with me and has stuck with me, and that's Saranyata, which means "I love you, my king."
Right. And that was your answer.
It's like Saranyata Sarkini, which means "I love you, my king."
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the one phrase, Hausa phrase, that hasn't left me.
Right. And that's what I was getting to. That phrase that you said, that in several dialects you understood, "I love you,
my king."
Right. And because they were so glad to see you there in Africa, and they're reaching out. A lot of people remember phrases, that have gone there. The things they say to you, they recognize, they call us the children of our ancestors, but that's so.
And so like, even, I don't mean to cut you off, but even like in Ghana, it's like Wakaba. It's like welcome. Like everywhere you go, it's like, they're just like welcoming you home.
This is right on point for what my message is. I want to relate to something that people aren't aware of. Talk about the cost of living there.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to tell you. I know that a lot of people talk about going to Africa in terms of making money and investing and all that kind of stuff. Me personally, I just, for the fun, right? And so when you go to African countries, you'll get to live like royalty for a fraction of the cost of what it would be here. So like, for example, when I was in Ghana, I already had a house, and I shouldn't even call it a house because it was really a compound. 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom house. It had servant quarters with actual servants in them. Then they had what they call boys' quarters. We call it guest quarters. In the back, at the gate, there was an armed guard and all for less than what my cell phone bill would be in the United States of America. I was paying like $128 a month to rent the entire compound. Not amazing. Just a room, the entire compound. And so what people like myself would do, where we're moving to Africa, we're in Africa, whatever, they'll rent out the rooms, rent out the boys' quarters, maybe not the servants' quarters, but rent out those rooms for $25 a night, $100 a night, depending on the room and how nice it is, anywhere from $25 to $100 a night. And so if you rent out Airbnb whatever. Those rooms, 2 rooms would pay for your rental of the place. And then every room after that is sheer profit into your pocket.
Right. Amen.
Because the cost of living is so low. Like you have to think about like to live middle class, like middle class, what we have in America, to live middle class there, you're looking at folks that are making $50, $60 a month. And so if they're making $50, $60 a month and living how we live, middle class, making $2,000 or $3,000 a month, if you come with a $2,000 or $3,000 a month income in a place where $50 a month will get you middle class America lifestyle in Africa, and you got $3,000 a month or $2,000 a month, you get to live like royalty.
Amazing. That's living an amazing lifestyle, and to feel welcome everywhere that you go.
You feel welcome everywhere you go. You don't have to deal with driving while black. None of the racism that we have to deal with here, that doesn't exist. Unlike you're literally in places where they have black people on the money. You'll get to live the life of luxury. And I mean literally on the beach, lobster, all the stuff that is inaccessible in the US is totally accessible in Africa. Like I said, I was going for fun. I have friends who went to invest, to make money, and whatever kind of business that you're in here, you can go there and become a millionaire. Like if you work at Subway making sandwiches in the United States of America, you can go to Africa, make sandwiches, and make millions of dollars because you know how to make sandwiches. So if that's the least of, like, how hard is it to make a sandwich? Imagine if you have any type of skill whatsoever and go there.
One question. What would it cost to have a driver added to your staying there?
It depends on the country. I can say that. So like, for example, when I was in Senegal, I wanted to rent a car, but they don't do the rent a car. So the rent a car comes with a driver. And so I was paying like $25 a day for a rental car with an actual driver that stayed with me 24 hours a day. So when I'm sleeping in my bed, he would be sleeping. I didn't really like that part, but he would be sleeping in the car, or he could go home to his wife and his kids for $25 a day. Like the cost of living there is just so much lower than what it is here.
Amen. Tell us about the other Africans Americans that have moved back to Africa that you ran into while you were there. Did you run into a lot of them in Nigeria or more in Ghana?
Because of the area that I was in, that I lived in Nigeria, there weren't that many African Americans. But if I would go to like the bigger cities like Lagos or Abidjan or Abuja, those places, there were a lot of other African Americans. And like I said, whatever talent they had here, they could take it there and just grow it into multi-million-dollar businesses. And it's like, oh, if you like clothes, you can go to the tailor shop, make clothes like how you like, and then ship it here, and people will buy it and make gugas of money. Engineering, if you're an engineer, construction, any type of hands-on type of work, those folks, dang near billionaires going there and working on the skills. Technology, just whatever skill you have here, if you go there, apply that same skill, you can have a business, as opposed to how we live here, where you're just working for the man. it'll go over there, blow up and bloom. Like they even had a saying that in Africa, and they were talking about like all 54 countries, not just Africa as this monolith of a country that's really a continent. Every 2.5 seconds, a millionaire is born. And so that was the saying there. Mm-hmm. And that was almost 10 years ago. So imagine what it is now, you know?
Right. So you've with the appetite, hopefully, of a lot of our listeners. And I'm still working on y'all out there. Because I'm not worried about it. As I tell Victoria all the time, all we doing is conveying a message. Life is going to teach you, and the Holy Spirit will lead you to where you need to go. And that's by the grace of God is how you're going to make your move. But all we're doing is conveying a message of what's out there. So in Ghana, with the Africans, give me a little bit, and this is something that I haven't spoke about in several podcasts. Tell me your spiritual experience when you were there, what you felt when you went through the slave castles and reuniting yourself with the continent, because that's a very important part of this podcast, is showing the connection that we have there and how authentic it is when we go home.
So for me, that was the biggest thing because, like I said, I'm an academic who studies African American history, teaches Africana studies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when I was there, I was doing a lot of research. I would go to the different slave castles and trace like the path that our ancestors would go through. Like they could show you this was the route that if they caught you in the field way out there in the forest region, you had to walk all this way. You would come to this river. The river had like gold in it, all this kind of stuff. That was the last bath before coming to the slave castles. And so I toured quite a few slave castles. And they would say, when you enter the slave castles, you can feel like you have this feeling that you know this is the one that my ancestor came through on their way through the door of return to America. And I went to like Elmina, Cape Coast, the bigger ones. It was one of the more smaller ones that was near like a little village. I'm embarrassed to say I can't think of the name of it right now, where when you step into the room where they held our ancestors, one thing that's universal across all of the castles is that 400, 500, 1,000 years later, you can still smell the blood and the feces. Like it's a smell that doesn't leave you. But when I stepped into that one room in that real tiny slave castle, I felt it. I knew.
What?
I knew.
Mm-hmm.
My ancestors were held in that room, endured the indignities, the travesties that happen in rooms like that. And this was the last place and the last time they were on the continent before they walked through the door of no return.
Wow. That's deep. Saying with all my guests that have been there, they have felt the same thing. And that's why I have an upcoming documentary where we're going to take people back there and walk them through that very experience. What can you tell us about the food that you love there, about the fruit and the taste of the fruit versus the fruit that we get over here?
So just in general, the food there is pure and natural.
Right.
The fruit off the trees, the meat, the vegetables. You can tell the difference just tasting it. Because there are even places where you can go and you can get American food, even American candy, like a Kit Kat in Africa. You could tell that that's real chocolate, real sugar, as opposed to what we get here is this processed, manufactured poison. I'm just going to call it what it is.
Right.
But there you can, no hormones in the meat, no, what do you call it? The preservatives. That's not the word I was looking for, but you know, the seed even for the vegetables.
Genetically modified.
Yes. None of that. It's just pure food. Imagine waking up in the morning and they got fresh fruit for you to have for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Straight off the tree. And I climbed up, got the mangoes, got the bananas. Pure. No additives, no nothing, no preservatives. Like you can actually taste what food is supposed to taste like. You can actually feel your body being nourished by the food that you're putting in it. Here, it's just kind of like, we got to eat, so we eat. There's nothing left. There's no alternative, so we just eat this processed food.
Mm-hmm.
There, it's just pure. Most Americans, y'all don't really know what chicken actually tastes like. Y'all don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So everything sounds like Shangri-La. Was as a single woman traveling by herself, what was
you gonna go there on me, Stan?
You know, did you feel safe?
Absolutely.
Yes. And so for another single woman traveling by herself, what is her romance life potential there in Africa?
You really gonna go there with me, Stan?
Yeah. No, you're talking about somebody else.
You gonna go there with me in front of all of the world?
No, well, let's save that. I want to have you back, so I don't want to embarrass you on this podcast. But you know, certain people are looking for certain things. I just want to know if they can find them there.
You really want me to go there, Stan?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I keep asking you the same question over and over again. You're going to put me on the spot like that. Okay, I'll go there.
All right.
So, okay, I will preface this with saying, I know we're talking about Africa, but I actually been to Belize as well. And in Belize, they do have what's called the Dangriga community. Mm-hmm. And in the Dangriga community, it's one of those areas that are as close to your African roots that you can get there to get in the Americas. Right. And so one of my girlfriends from the Dangriga community, she has this saying that says, we as Africans in diaspora have been spread all over the world. And we spend a huge part of our romantic life, meaning trying to find our mates, trying to get back to our soulmates, and trying to get back to our people. And we can spend a whole lifetime trying to find that mate. When you go to Africa, all the tribes are there.
Mm-hmm.
All the people are there.
Right.
And so not only are all the tribes there and all the people there, they aren't encumbered with what happens to us in the diaspora. So if you're really serious about finding your soulmate, getting back to that tribe, Africa would be a good place to start.
There you go. We'll leave it right there. We want to leave you with a cliffhanger. Victoria will be back. AJ, our engineer, is about to drop our closing track. And on our way out, I want to thank Victoria for sharing with us, adding to the motif of our show, and contributing these special moments, her heartfelt moments, her spiritual moments, her, she didn't tell us about the fun she had in the casinos there in Ghana and stuff, but
you gonna bust me all the way out? Come on, man.
Yeah, but that's all part of it, because you won't be missing anything that you have here. You will have everything here plus a lot that you cannot get here, in context.
Everything you can get here plus dignity and respect.
Wow. That's well said. AJ, take us home.
This is great. I normally don't want to pop into your podcast, Stanley, but I'm sitting here. I was like, all right, I could live like a king, but making like $300 a month or something like that. That's
you
it.
Good, AJ, you good.
I'm going to pack up my podcast equipment and go to Africa.
You should, AJ.
All right. I mean, yeah, we got the lovebirds in the background. I hear all those birdies chirping away, and I'm gonna go up to a tribe and find my soulmate there. Yeah, this is great.
Yes.
All right, Bax. You're gonna take it away, Stanley. You have any final words?
I put everything in there. I just want to, once again, I'm humbled by having Victoria on this podcast. I've waited for a while to get her to be here. She brings so much to the table that fits into everything that we are about. I deeply appreciate her contribution to this podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Stan. To be honest with you, my wife was giving me the eyeballs when I was saying I was going to pack up and move to Africa. So, yeah, I got the eyeballs. But thank you for coming on our show, Professor Victoria Richards. Do appreciate that. I'm AJ, filling in for the Baxabillion. Don't forget to go to a website to see all of our platforms that we are broadcasting on. Linktree.com/Passage Home Podcast. If you need to get a hold of us, our email address is passagehomepodcast@gmail.com. Until then, have a great week, and we'll see you on the next episode. Good night.
All we do is fight, go tick for tack. This my last night, this shit's a wrap.
Pushing and pulling, I want you, but you wanna leave. I hate you, I love you, you love me, yeah, you gotta be free. If I'm your cage, leave. But if you stay with me, eventually we'll find happy.
We got carried away, getting married in May. I don't know who you are, I just know what you.
This is a production of the AJ Podcast Network.